live chat on Through the Grapevine. Tonight, we have got some extra special guests in and Jane Kelly. So we've got Nigel from Muddy Boots, Gardener Scott, Tony O'Neill from Simplified Gardening, and also Jane from the Jane Growing Garden. Hiya, Jane.
Hello, Danny. Thank you so much for that introduction.
That's all right.
Nice
You're very welcome.
I'm glad to see, Danny, that you're here this week, because last week you looked like you were being beamed up on Star Trek. There was a no, you weren't glowing, but you were pixelated for quite some time, and I think everyone was a bit concerned.
After I'm HD today, or 4K. I think I'm 4K.
Oh, nice.
After the live, I did the boo-boo last week, but I was too afraid to change it because obviously I'd lose connection. For some reason I was on like a lower band. I don't know how I did that, but today we're all set up properly. Jane, you got me.
Thank you very much.
I think my picture's frozen, Danny.
No, you're okay.
Yeah, okay. And Danny, you look fabulous. 4K was the secret, obviously.
That was definitely the secret, Scott. Scott, you can come on here anytime you want.
That's so kind.
Good, Jane.
Got all this personal stuff going on here.
Oh,
thank you. I just want to say thanks to Locke as well before it disappears in the chat for gifting another 5 members.
Well done, Locke.
It made Jane's evening. But the list now, nice. The list is, I honestly, thanks so much for all the members and all this. It is so kind to have so many people supporting the channel now, and it means I can buy more raised beds, I think. But I think I'm almost at the limit now.
I thought you were going to say buy more razor blades.
Well, my viewers need those, not me.
You could do with a good shave.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, Danny, if you had more raised beds, you'd have to start doing double-decker beds, wouldn't you? Because surely you've taken up all your ground space now.
Well, someone asked me how I filled them, and what I did was I dug down. I just put the beds on, and then I dug around them and dropped them down. So
yeah,
I'm in a quarry now. That's exactly what I've done.
I couldn't go.
They are
already.
Well, they are one of those things, aren't they, that they do take a bit of filling. Scott, yours must have took quite a bit of filling those raised beds.
Oh yeah. I'm not as young as I used to be, but it's a day. I'll spend a day filling a bed because I've got taller raised beds, and then I'll take a day off, and then I'll spend another day. And I'm actually building 3 new beds right now, and that's the limitation, is trying to figure out when I'm going to fill those beds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You did one of your highest, I think it is your highest video, was filling a raised bed. I think it's like 4.3 million or something.
Yeah.
It's 4.2 million.
It's still the most watched every day. It's my most watched video. I'll hit 4.4 million here probably by the end of the month. That's crazy.
Did you think when you was putting dirt inside wooden boxes that it was going to be watched by 4.2 million people?
That was an eye-opening video for me, because I wasn't even going to do it in the beginning, because I thought it's so simple. You just fill a raised bed. But I realized that I do it a little differently. I'll put the logs and the twigs in below, and then I mix it with my own soil. And as I started thinking about it, it became a fleshed out video. And for something that I wasn't even going to do, now it's the number one. And it really showed me what people really need to know when they're starting to garden.
They're always the ones that do well.
Yeah.
Who's left? Nigel's left.
I think as well, though, a lot of people will buy the raised beds or make their own raised beds, and they think, they look great. But maybe it's been a bit of a short-term thought, and they get them in place and think, what do I do now? Yeah. Because if you're going to fill it with compost, that is going to cost you an absolute fortune. So to see how other people do it. Brilliant.
Yeah, I had a viewer on Instagram message me saying, I bought 2 of those raised beds that you've got. I've built them in my living room. Now what? I was like, well, first of all, they got to go back.
Put them outside.
They got to go outside. But
try and get them through the door.
They're not the huge ones like you've got, Tony. They're like coffins. Those things.
Trying to get that through the door. They are big, and they took a lot of filling.
Yeah,
I still do build mine at home though. Well, I half build them at home because, I got delicate fingers, and I hate. There's nothing worse than building those cold metal raised beds out in the winter. I tell you what,
Bit nippy.
Bit nippy.
Yeah.
But
bless you.
But do you know what though? I've got a mixture now of metal raised beds, wooden raised beds, and also growing in the ground. And I tell you what though, I do like that. It was when I seen, and weirdly, when I seen Charles Dowden do it, and this is no knock at him, I didn't really see the benefit of him. But then when Tony's got a lot of his beds like that as well, haven't you, Tony, where you've got your back pass and you grow in the ground. And then I think it's the right player plot, they showed it as well. And I just thought, you know what, it actually is so defined. But my problem is I've done it, and we all know what's coming now is me going to be moaning about the moles in those beds. That's my problem, is that I've got those beds.
I'm just about to put my autumn raspberries in one, and I'm going to line the bottom with fine chicken wire before I fill it.
Yeah, I think that's why I think I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I've got another raised bed to put down for the raspberries, and I think I'm going to do the same thing because.
And make sure you cover the entire side to side, overlap the sides, because I have to do wire. I've got gophers, and
you have gopher issues, don't you?
I had one of my beds, and I had like 3 inches too little of that wire, and it's like that'll be enough. And I've got gophers in that raised bed now because they'll find it. They'll find that gap and crawl in if you don't cover every single bit at the bottom.
I find it mad that we moan about moles and rats, and then you've got an actual gopher. Like, do you know what I mean? That's not, they're quite intelligent things as well. I was watching a video of them, and they're so intelligent how they can open things up. And Scott, I don't know how you deal with gophers, because that's
most of the time lining the beds will work. But my garden dog Mala, does a pretty good job at digging for them. She doesn't catch very many, but there's also a cat in the neighborhood that I've actually been in the garden and see this cat walk along the fence with a gopher in its mouth. So
oh my goodness,
I love it.
How big are gophers? How big are a gopher? Like how big are we talking? Like a Jack Russell?
So no, they're not that big. So mine, I'll try to put it up to my face so you can see. It's about and they're really thin, which is why they can get through small spaces. It's a pocket gopher is what we have here. A large rat,
yeah. I thought they were bigger than
squirrel. I suppose like a squirrel. And your squirrel's very intelligent.
Smaller than a squirrel. I've got squirrels, but they're smaller than the squirrels that we have.
Okay.
But
our squirrels aren't that big, I don't think.
They're on diet here, though. They can't afford to eat.
Yeah, they're starving. They're being beaten off by the red squirrel. That's what it is. The red squirrel.
And chicken wire on the bottom of the beds.
Yeah. The demise of the squirrel. It's all down to you, Danny. There we go.
Bumblebee adventures. I wanted to adopt some gophers. I do not. Absolutely not. I've already got enough with the moles.
Has everybody here got raised beds then? Are you all? Because we've got
Nigel,
pallet crates.
Oh,
Nigel's saying as well. Yeah.
I was the original one with the builder's planks.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah. Well, that's the allotment way, isn't it? Doing it with wood, reclaimed wood if you can, but it's so expensive now. Even reclaimed wood is just so expensive. Yeah.
I couldn't. The Grapevine Gardens all planked wood, and I couldn't fund that now to make it worth my while. And that's pretty much why we're going to talk about today. Really, is and it was really strange, Scott, that I spoke to Tony and said, "Oh, I'm going to do a live about." Is it worth gardening? And he said, and I swear down, this was just pure coincidence. He went, well, Scott just did a video literally about an hour ago on it. And I was like, that's even perfect. So I watched that then, and I thought, well, now I've got some input on it. And, but yeah, it was, we all know the answer is going to be, it is worth it to us, because otherwise we wouldn't do it. But there's so many people who do question those things, like do you where's the cost come into it? And I think
it's like any other hobby though, right? Yeah. If you play golf, you've got to go and buy golf clubs, and it's expensive. If you play cricket, you've got to buy cricket. If you go out on a lake and you do sort of canoeing or whatever, there's a cost to that. This is our hobby as well as and we just happen to have food out of it. So we're only doing what anybody else would do in any other hobby, but you happen to get a bonus of food. That's the way I look at it. It's not just about trying to save money.
And people might go into it thinking, I want to garden because I want to grow my own food. And then when they spend as much as they need to spend to build a bed, and then the time and the expense to fill the bed, and because going into it, they're purely looking at, I'm going to save money growing my own food. Now they'll stop and say, wow, I'm just spending too much and I'm not getting the payback. And so if you look at it just financially, it may not be worth it. But to all of us, it's a hobby. It's a passion. It's what we do.
We've probably all had it where someone has come on, you know, on a video or something, so, well, I can grow those carrots, or I can go and buy those carrots at 29 pence in Asda's or whatever supermarket, you know. And yes, you can, but you don't get the enjoyment of actually going and growing those carrots, having, you know, the being able to pull those and having the satisfaction of knowing that you did that, and then the taste, because of the varieties that you can get, you can't buy in the shops. So it's just a completely different. It's like apples and oranges. You just can't compare it.
I absolutely agree with you, Tony. And I also think that it's surprising how many people, once they start gardening, how they realize that we were taught such basic knowledge about what we eat when we were in school. And I think that's quite bad. You know, like before that, you know, I really got into gardening. I didn't know that there was like a million tomato varieties, or, you know, I just thought a spring onion was a spring onion. I didn't know that. I was actually Nigel when I was watching this video. I thought, what? There's more than once, and I was just starting allotment in there. I thought, what's he on about? And he was mentioning ramrod. I was thinking, what's he on about? Like, I didn't know I thought they were brands first. So I thought, and then that's when you really get into gardening, when you think there's so much. And I do think I've never picked up a spring onion in mine and thought, that's a ramrod. I've never thought that about the spring onions. I've never thought that. But to us, it's more than just.
It's the freshness, it's everything, isn't it? You know, and, you know, the mental health side of things, you know, just going up and getting your hands in the soil is just like, I'll go up there and before I know it, 7 hours has gone by and it feels like 5 minutes to me. You know, it's because I just lose myself when I'm there. I just chuck in some ear pods or whatever and I get on with whatever I'm doing. But I always come away totally de-stressed, you know, and, you know, you can't buy that. You know,
it's almost like
it's our crutch, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? It's our crutch.
Yeah.
Go on, Jane.
But no, I was saying it's almost like a meditation, because you just lose yourself in something that, you know, and you get something at the end of it. But I'm wondering if people, I agree with what you're saying about it being a hobby, but I'm wondering if most hobbies people can see the point of, and things like swimming, you're getting faster, or running, you're getting faster, or canoeing. Well, they're just luxury things, aren't they? Whereas people see you going out and voluntarily getting filthy dirty for the sake of some wonky vegetables. And it might just be a case
they might be wonky in your case, Jane.
They are. But it's not seen as a glamorous pastime.
But I think there's that. There's that sense of accomplishment. That's one of the things that brings me back. Is it does start off wonky, but then when you can get to that point that you can harvest it and it's great, that's kind of like cutting 5 seconds off your time if you're swimming or running.
Yeah,
but absolutely. That's difficult to explain to someone who doesn't do it. You know,
this is why I think it needs to be taught more at schools and younger generations, because I think probably a lot of gardeners have had that experience when they were young, like I did with my grandfather and what have you, and they've been brought on with that, you know. So once you have that, it sort of instills in you, you know, and people, it's like I grew up with it. I'm not a great lover of sports, but yet my son will go mental if he doesn't play football and rugby. He's out six nights a week training, and you know, he loves it. And I'm like that with gardening, you know. So everybody has their own little thing that they love doing, and they may not understand it. Like I don't understand football, but you know, it's each to their own, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
There is also. Shall I shut up? Let me just tell you one thing. There is that recent article.
Scott, what I was going to say was,
I'm so used to that. I am so used to that.
It's true. It never gets old. It really doesn't.
Never gets old. No, that article that sparked all of us saying that it was actually better for the planet if you go out and buy food from your supermarket than growing your own, because the infrastructure of growing your own, you have to buy a shed, you have to buy, and it was talking all about how much money you have to,
I didn't do that.
Thing. No, but they're saying that you have to put in all that money in that first year, and there's the travel miles for all the things that you're buying in. There's no mention of the fact.
The overall winner, which trumps a lot for me, is the flavour. You can't get flavour out of a supermarket.
No, you can't. You can't. But also the financial thing. You might put some in when you're setting up your garden, but each year that passes, it gets cheaper and cheaper, and it's never going to be.
It's like my potato thing, with the containers, right? I put a lot of compost in them every year. I've built up the whole system, but I've built that over time. I make my own compost. I won't be doing it. I'm going to use bag this year, but as a rule, I make my own compost for it, and I save my own seed potatoes. So that 450 pound of potatoes I harvested last year didn't cost me a penny. And the thing is, people don't get that. All they see is you're putting compost into a bucket. You're putting all these seed potatoes into the bucket. I've had people asking me, well, how many seed potatoes you put in? That must have been like 40 quid. Well, probably, if you had to go and start from year one. But I'm 40 years in, it's not like I'm starting from scratch. And I do get that people starting from scratch, they need to walk before they can run. So, and they see everything that's on Instagram and YouTube, and they want that now. And they don't want to put the time in. And that's why people always quit. Yeah, absolutely. But systems take time, and they take money and resources. We know that. But that comes with time. Initially, there's an initial outlay, but everything else follows up. Like, don't get me wrong, I spend a lot of money on my garden. It's my hobby, and I choose to. I don't have to, though,
Yeah.
And I think Scott touched on it, the fact as well, is that would you really be doing those things with your family? Like Scott touched on the fact, that his grandchildren come around. And after I watched that, it made me think as well, like, would I ever remember taking Leo to the supermarket? No, I'm never going to think. Right. I'm never going to think about that. But the fact that he hosted like one of my YouTube channels, that's going to be there forever, And the fact that my brother popped round, and my
oh, he's gone.
Oh. Hooray. So what I will say, Danny, he did a much better job at presenting than you.
I think we should have a caption competition. What's Danny about to say? Is it
well, we're all hidden at the moment.
All right. Oh, bless him. That's what you get for being in 4K. Oh.
That's karma, Jane, for what he just did to you.
Exactly. It's funny. Karen's just said in the chat, I think the average price of my carrots is about £3.27 each, but I still do it. Like,
that's right.
You're going to take that out.
While we're here, there's a question come up in the chat, and I'll answer it. Means we're waiting on Danny. Urban White Buffalo Farm asked, Tony, do you save seed potatoes from your harvest or buy new? Every year I save my own seed. Occasionally I'll buy in some new tubers just to mix up the genetics a little bit, but pretty much I save my own seed every year.
Yeah. I do the same with garlic. I've been growing garlic for years and years and years, just like you are growing your potatoes, Tony. And every year I save and plant the same ones, and then occasionally add something new.
Yeah, I think if you can save your own seed, it's so much better, because that seed has actually the plant germinated in your climate, then it grew in your climate, it produced seed in your climate. So that seed is actually climatized to your area and your microclimate.
Absolutely.
So it always does much better, rather than buying a packet up, from that's been imported halfway across the world just to be able to grow it. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but what I'm saying is, the seed in that may not do as well as the seed that you're keeping yourself.
Do the potatoes that you're getting from your seed potatoes now and your garlic now, Scott, are they exactly the same as they were when you first had them, or have they sort of morphed into something slightly differently according to the climates and situations?
I think mine do a little bit better, but I'm only saving the biggest bulbs, and so I'm doing the bulbs that did the best each year. And so over time, they have morphed into a bigger and stronger plant.
Yeah,
but it's the same variety though, Jane, because they're like a duplicate of the adult. So because we're not going from true seed, are we, with garlic? And with garlic you've got the bulbils that is really the seed, and you can also take the seed head off, but the same thing with potatoes. We're not taking a potato. This is why I tell everybody move the flowers. We're not taking a potato through to seed, collecting our seed and growing it from seed. We're using seed potatoes, so it's effectively a clone, but those clones do develop and get stronger because of that microclimate that it's used to getting and growing in. If you were to take those potatoes and put them somewhere else, they'd probably be like every other potato because they're not used to that climate,
Yeah.
The problem is that with veg, with me, I tend to grow primarily F1 varieties. So that's when
not saving the seeds.
The reason I do that is because I tend to grow stuff which I want to crop in the close window, and they tend to mature fairly quickly. So then you can use the space to put something else in rather than just picking stuff out. But the opposite end, though, the seeds cost a lot more than saving your own.
I mean, you can save yourself a lot of money by saving your own seed, and but it doesn't mean, like, I've got boxes and boxes of seeds that I still buy, but I will save my own because there's certain varieties that I'll always want to grow.
Well, like the Rudolph potatoes, Tony, like I've never seen those as a seed potato. But
they're really hard to get hold of, and and it's funny because there was only one company selling them now that I know of, and that's JBA. And this year they limited to 5 tubers per person because they're hard to get hold of.
Have you got any more, Tony? Because I ate all the rest. I ate my stock. Times are hard at Christmas, let me tell you.
A variety of potato I was after, and I could get it 3 or 4 years ago, is one called Apache. I've not seen that around for a while. I don't know if it's still available.
No, I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen that for about for a bit. Again, another one, Condo, I grow. That's been a favorite with the showers for the giant potatoes. So they are like gold dust as well, and they've been limited down to 5 tubers per person. But that's not so much of an issue because you can cut a tuber up anyway. As long as it's got an eye on it, you can just multiply that. But I don't in my containers because I save enough seed not to bother. And I just rather have the just be able to chuck it. For me, it's about timing, right? So the last thing I want to be doing is cutting up a load of potatoes, waiting for them to dry, and I just want to throw them in a bucket, stick it under the thing, and have done with it. I got a large garden, and I'm sowing like 80 of these buckets of potatoes, and the last thing I want to be doing is cutting up lots of potatoes and waiting for them to dry before I can get out and sow it.
Yeah. I think it's handy to do that if you need to, but do you find cutting it up does give you better yields though, or do you feel
what happens when you cut up a potato is you're limiting the amount of eyes that can be produced? And when it comes to showing, you might even just cut a cone of potato and just take the eye away and plant that eye into a normal plant pot. Okay, and I've got a video on that. But what happens is when you limit the amount of eyes, the home only pushes up one home, but the potatoes or the tubers get bigger because they're not fighting for the resources. If multiple homes come up, then you'll get a lot of potatoes, but they're usually smaller. So that's how you can control the size. And like I always tell people, if you want large, big style potatoes, cut all of the eyes out with like a coin or a knife or something, bar 2, and just allow the potato just to grow 2 homes. And then obviously when you've got 2 in it, that's 4 comes up, and that's when you get bigger potatoes.
It's like Wendy's with anything, isn't it? You if you wanted bigger squash, for example, you would take off the
rest.
Off the vine, and the goodness goes into the ones you've got left. So yeah.
Wendy's asked, Tony, do you save the biggest ones or the smallest ones? That ones you wouldn't want to eat?
It depends what you're looking to do, Wendy. If you're looking for show and you want, like, you're going for like a world record or something, you need to keep the largest tuber because that's going to have the genetics of getting big. It's already proven to get big. So if you take the genetic from that, and the smaller one's still got the same genetics, but this specific potato is already proven that it'll get big. So you would take from that. But for growing potatoes at home, you're just looking for like a duck size, a large chicken or a duck size egg size potato. They'd be perfect.
Another question. Sorry, Tony, there's quite a few potato questions coming through. Would you still get a good crop from a smaller tube potato? I think you just kind of explained that, but would you still get a decent amount of crop off a tiny one?
Yeah, you would. Again, you can just limit it depending on the size of the potatoes. So there's a trade-off, right? If you want big potatoes, you're having less of them. If you want smaller potatoes, so this is great for, first, second earlies, the salad cropping potatoes, they're always going to be much smaller. So you just leave all of the eyes, just go on that. They'll produce lots and lots and lots of potatoes rather than bigger potatoes.
And how do you save your seed potatoes?
So you need to allow them to dry firstly, their skins. So when I'm harvesting, they'll be brought out, they'll dry off in the air or if it's raining, in a shed somewhere. The skin needs to go dry. And a lot of people worry about this, but I leave them at least 48 hours out. They worry that they're going to go green, but don't forget, a green potato doesn't make a difference if you use it as a seed potato anyway. So that's not a problem. You really want that to be dry. And then what I do with them is I'll wrap those potatoes in newspaper and they'll end up in a box with straw. And that box will get taped over, but not sealed, if you get my drift, so that it'll be taped down shut, but there's still airflow that can get in and out of that box. And periodically, maybe every 6-8 weeks throughout winter, I'll open that box back up and I'll unwrap a couple of the potatoes and have a look how they're doing. Usually you'll see if any of them start to rot, you'll see that paper getting wet and you can remove that one. But invariably, they all do really well. And by doing it this way, you're not having to worry about them sprouting early because you're keeping them cool. They're in dark, they're wrapped, they are insulated away from the temperature rises that we tend to get in January and February, which would set them off for shooting and things. So you control. I've got some in boxes up there now and they're pristine. It's like I went to the shop and bought them yesterday. And then there's others that are in buckets that I've just left in buckets in the shed and they're sprouting all over the place. So
and is a cat
really
necessary, Tony? Is a cat necessary to guard those potatoes in the shed, or is that just every time I come there?
Well, unfortunately, he's been evicted because I've just rebuilt the shed, haven't I? So,
oh God, yeah, that's true. Every time I go there, there's a cat. A cat jumps out of the shed at you.
It's not Rusty though.
No, Rusty's passed away now.
I know, that's why it's not Rusty.
That's good.
Oh.
I don't know. Well, thanks for answering those, Tony.
No problem.
I know you do like to talk about a potato question, so if anyone else got any other questions, make sure you pop them in the chat and stuff. And if it's not a potato, someone else can answer. But yeah, feel free to answer any questions. Yeah, before I got kicked off my own live, I was pretty much just saying, like, you wouldn't be doing those things in the garden if you didn't garden. You wouldn't, like, would I ever be rescuing hedgehogs if I was just at home and be carrying them around? Do you know what I mean? It's those type of things that you think afterwards. I wouldn't be doing those things if I didn't have a garden or if I didn't. And it's not about the cost then, do you know what I mean? Because those experiences that you get, that satisfaction when I crushed the grapes and I made some wine, that's paramount. And I didn't know, Nigel, I didn't use my feet. I actually used the little crusher thing. But
toe jam.
You went there. No, but I mean, it's that satisfaction here, especially when you hand over a crate to your family as well. That sense of pride that you have, that you give, vegetables to your family.
That joy you sent me, I thought that crunchy bits was a seed.
That was my toenails.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Jane.
Yes.
Bring it back to the room, Jane.
I can't. I'm desperately trying. I'm just trying to.
What's
civilization.
What's that on your desk? I just saw.
Oh, you mean this? I can't show it. It's back to front.
Please. I haven't seen it since 10 past.
Yay!
They've only put Jane Kelly in a magazine again. Gardening for Dummies, if anyone want to go and buy it.
Yeah.
Well done, Jane.
Thank you.
Well done.
That's a good achievement.
Very nice.
I mean, there's people out there that actually think you garden. How are your dahlia tubers, Jane?
They're fine, thank you, Danny.
Is it garlic in?
The garlic is in. Yes.
Garlic's in.
The dahlia tubers will be getting started soon. I have had to buy a few new ones. Yes. Because, you just never know if they're going to survive. Let's face it. You dig your dahlia tubers up or you leave them in. There's different ways of doing it. I've tried both this year. And all I can say is there hasn't been a lot of success.
I was busy this year. I dug mine up. I threw them into an old potato sack, and they've just sat on the floor in my shed. I've totally abused them. I haven't got any.
I bet they're
ground from seed. I suppose
you can. Yeah, you can. I think it takes a while. I don't know. I haven't grown them from seed.
You'll get a good plant in a year.
But that's it. You have to wait for a year, don't you? And that's the thing. It'll grow a tuber in that first year.
I take a load of cuttings off mine before I plant them out, though. So
I'm going to be doing that this year. Yeah.
Or every year I do it. I've got, and you get better crop off the cuttings than you do off the actual tubers. Yeah, absolutely. Better flowers, and they're more vibrant as well.
I kept one in the ground and I mulched over with bark, and it's underneath the fig tree, surrounded by raised beds. I think that one's going to be fine. But I think some of the ones that I actually dug up, I think the outside tubers look a bit squidgy, but the ones inside are quite firm, so I think they'll be a bit all right.
If you wanted to take a cutting, you could maybe just look at the article.
Jane, I'm only gonna. Jane, I'll buy that magazine when I'm in there, whenever it is this next. I think I'm in. I think maybe next month. I'm not in there this month.
You're not this month. I'm not going to tell you, Danny.
Am I in next?
I know when you're in. Oh.
Am I there?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Are you all right?
What's
going on? I think
that was my daughter.
When am I? This is terrible. When am I? Do you need to go, Jane?
No, it's all right. I've just cut her off. So that's fine.
Jane, when am I in this magazine? You think I'd know this, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. I do know when you're going to be in it, Danny, but I'm not telling you. So yeah. I don't actually. I know as much as you do. No, it's just I see who comes up each month when I buy the magazine, Danny. So you have to go out and get yourself. It's actually got a whole load of
everyone else. It's gonna be a surprise.
It's got a really good load of seeds this year. Our favourite, Calibos. The Calibos cabbage, that's in, and there's some mullein, silver skin onions. I've never grown silver skin onions before.
Oh, it's a bit late for them now.
But they've just got the seeds. Surely you can put them in. No.
You're gonna have a couple of spring onions from them, Jane.
Here come spring onions.
Well, are they the same as growing shallots? Or
they probably catch up, but I think I think with the magazines they tend to put in the seed too late when people need them.
And what they can't get rid of as well.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that.
2016 seed.
That makes me feel so much better. No, but a silver skin onion.
I should go to Lidl and buy a jar. It'll save you all the arse.
But is it more like a shallot?
That's how Jane does her videos.
You see, I hope the viewers realise that I'm trying to have a serious discussion here about onion sizes.
A serious gardening discussion.
Yeah, a serious, but no.
Oh, that don't happen on this channel.
No, don't be daft. No,
okay,
you
one last time.
On you.
What is the difference between a silver skin onion, a shallot, and an actual onion?
Is this a joke?
No, it's a serious thing.
It's the way you came out with it.
Or
you want us to give the definition of each one?
No, I want you to tell me what a silver skin onion is. Why don't they just call it I don't know what.
It's a pickling onion.
Skin on it. Yeah,
I know
it's a pickling onion.
But yes, I know it's a pickling onion. But is it basically? Why is it a pickling onion? Because it grows small. In that case, does it grow like a shallot? Does it grow lots of them on one, or does it just grow a very small onion?
Single onion, small.
Yes. Thank you.
Jane,
the
viewers got Jane. The viewers are meant to ask the questions, not the panel. To the other panel.
I'm only here because I need to ask.
Jane's coming to write down notes.
I've got my post-it notes. No, we're all learning. We are all learning all the time.
Every day.
Every day's a learning day.
Yeah.
What to sow in February just on windowsills and no grow lights in northeast of the UK?
In February.
Nigel, do you want to answer that? You're up that way more than us.
No, I'm the same latitude as you.
Oh yeah, that's Jane. That's what I meant. Jane.
I would say, as far as if you're not having
you'd
grow
say
lights,
silver skin onions, wouldn't you?
Silver skin onions, yeah. And your calabash cabbage. I would say just hang on for another week, and we're into March. And
you
then
can get your lettuce, radish, and stuff like that.
Yeah, quick growing stuff. But your tomatoes, they'll be going in soon.
Yeah.
Northeast, it's not that much different. If you're growing inside, it's maybe colder outside, but if you're growing inside anyway, you get the same amount of daylight as we do. So yeah, just hang fire for a week, and you could put your lettuce and
you
quick
could pop
things
some.
in there.
I wish I showed a picture. My lettuces are looking at. They were grown in grow lights, but I showed them last week.
It's fantastic. I saw them, Danny. Really good.
I'm not even joking, Nigel. Right? If I
no, I'm
not joking. If I showed you them now,
they are good.
That's
the Twilight Zone.
He's going to get his lettuce and he's frozen.
I was waiting for a question. He was so serious all of a sudden.
He's deep in thought. Oh, there we go.
He's gone.
Come on then, Nigel.
Yay.
So, Nigel, what have you got? Have you got anything growing that's not under grow lights at the moment?
Yeah, I got onions. I've just done a load of brassicas. They're up. Well, some of them are up.
Just saw that on your video today.
And I've not really sown anything. Towards the end of the month, I'll be starting my tomatoes and maybe courgettes and something like that. But within the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think then.
I think, again, we were talking about social media before, and you all know this is a right bugbear of mine, but people start to see that other people have got stuff coming up. And okay, you've got your chilies and your aubergines and all that sort of stuff, needs a longer growing season. But yeah, if there's a pressure, you think everyone else's stuff's coming up. I'm behind, and there's that pressure. We're only in February. We've got really cold temperatures for us coming up this weekend. We've had floods today, and it's we've got to get things in perspective. Sometimes there's a long growing season ahead. Things will catch up,
And there's so many people on YouTube that are saying, do this now, do it this way. And especially new gardeners don't know to find out where they're growing and if it matches what they're doing. I can't, all these plants you guys are talking about, I don't even put in my garden till the first week of June. So
Scott, what zone are you growing in?
So my zone is 5B. That's the USDA zone. I get down very, very cold in winter, but my last frost is in the end of May. And so I can't even put anything in till the beginning of June. I'm seeing videos right now that are saying, start these plants in February. And
it's only a couple of weeks more than us, Nigel.
My frost date's about the second week in May, I think. The last frost date.
Same as ours. You and I, we're 8, are we, Nigel? We're about 8?
8A we are, I think.
Yeah. So,
I actually, sorry guys, I actually know why I'm getting cut off. It's the storm has just started outside, and I don't know what's happening. But if I do get cut off my live completely, it means that
we'll run it. Don't worry.
Tony,
we're having it here as well.
We didn't even notice you were gone.
Danny, if you get cut off, just go down the polytunnel and sort that out.
Yeah.
It's the storms happening here as well, Danny. So
is it really? It's moved south. It's moved south.
It started, and Yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I was thinking, I've never been cut off alive ever in my life, and for some reason,
I thought Tony had cut you off a few times.
I now know what it feels like to be Jane Kelly.
Yeah.
I did tell Jane the first time it happened about karma kicking in.
Yeah. I was literally walking through the river when I took Rocky out before for his walk, because we usually walk alongside the river, and it's usually a fair way down, but it completely burst the banks. As I said, the path I was walking through, it was a proper test of my boots to see if they were waterproof. Wow. Fortunately they were, but I think it's now moved down to you, so you're really in for it, really, for a good few hours.
Do you still have snow?
Oh yes. Yeah. In fact, we've actually there you go. That was a couple of weeks ago. Normally January and February are very, very dry months, but we are almost 2 feet of snow more this year than we have been. And April and early May are actually our snowiest times. So
we tend to get ours in March. Yeah, we tend to get ours in March.
I can't wait. I can't wait, honestly. I'm the first one at the plot, straight away, down there, taking photographs. I think it's
nice.
It is lovely. It's lovely for us, though, because it's a novelty, isn't it? Whereas for you, Scott, you must just get fed up to the back teeth sometimes.
You're probably fed up after a while, Scott, aren't you?
Well, we are. Luckily, at least in my part of Colorado, it's a roller coaster. That's what I get fed up with. But we'll get 4 or 5 inches of snow, and then it'll warm up and it'll all melt. But every Saturday for the last 2 months, we've had snow. And that's what gets old.
Yeah.
It's like rain for us. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like if it's not raining now, we're like, oh my God, it's not raining. We can go and film.
I can go film something. Yeah.
The wettest February for I don't know how long, apparently, in the UK. We've been told at the end of this month. So
it's not very good.
Well, after this live, I'm going over to the plot to make sure that is all.
It's still there.
No, it'll be there, but I'm a little bit. I'll make sure everything's battened down. Especially.
I thought maybe you were worried it was going to wash away in the rain.
It's the fancy cloches I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about.
He's on a hill. He's all right.
I'll be all right.
Yeah. No,
I've got these beautiful mountains that encase me, so I'm normally okay. But Tony gets it terrible, doesn't he, Tony? When the wind comes up.
My plot is so open, and people don't realize it. It's like you can have some beautiful crops 1 minute, and then the wind just comes through and either flattens them, or it's like they've been sandblasted, So it's why I've sort of put all the structures in the center of the plot to sort of buffer that wind a little bit and to break it down. But in winter, it's a nightmare. If I don't grow in the tunnels and I grow outside, nothing lasts there. It's just the frosts and everything is so cold because of the winds.
Can't you put hedging up?
You could, I suppose, but,
where would his compost phase go?
Yeah, but not just that, how much would hedging cost to go right around my plot, It's...
Have you seen his polytunnel? No hedging is that high.
No,
it's an aircraft hangar.
I know, yeah, I know.
But no, it's, there are things you can do on there, but like I said, mainly I keep the 2 tunnels for winter and I grow in those, but this year I haven't even done that because I've used them as dumping grounds. But, everybody's got their challenges, like Scott with gophers and everything else. You just find your local way of dealing with that issue. And then you do that. And other people will be able to take something from that sometimes, or maybe not. Like, I don't need to worry about putting mesh, and I have got a mole running around actually, but I'm not that bothered if he goes up into the bed, but if I was having gophers there, you can bet your bottom dollar I'd be putting mesh across the bottom of the beds, Yeah.
I've stood in the garden and actually watched a plant start to shake.
I'd have been there with a spade.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And then it disappears under the ground. That's how many gophers
I planted a small dahlia bulb once, And I came over the next day and it's gone. It's completely gone. And I thought, I just planted it. And a mole had pulled it right down. And the worst thing is it ate the blooming tuber off it as well for no reason. Didn't even eat.
But they're edible apparently, aren't they?
Yes, you can eat
moles.
bulbs.
Moles are good.
Moles are edible.
And moles, yeah. No, but aren't they related to yacon? Dahlia tubers? I mean, I've never.
They're in the
yacon,
same family, but
yeah,
you can eat them.
That's where they were originally grown for, though, weren't they? They weren't grown for the flowers, but potato flowers are quite nice, though, really, aren't they? Like I think they're quite nice.
Potato flowers? Oh, the flowers, not to eat. I was going to say
you never get to that stage, Jane. That's the problem.
You can, Danny, you can get a plant which is just like potato flowers. It's called a Solanum glasnevin crispin. It's like a bluey yellow centre, and it's
really
exactly potato flowers. Solanum is a potato family, and it's a climber.
I think.
Okay.
I don't know if you grow these, Scott, but I was watching another live yesterday, Emmanuel's, and he mentioned, is it potato mint? So it looks like mint. I know I hadn't heard either. And
I haven't heard of that. Now he lives in Florida, and so there's some tropical plants that they can grow down there. But I haven't.
They grow it for the tubers, and the leaves look like mint. They don't smell of mint, but underneath they grow very baby potatoes, and because they can't grow potatoes there, they grow this plant called potato mint, and for some reason, but they have little tiny small potatoes. But I think that's the case with wherever you go. Like there'll be times where I remember watching a video yours, Scott, where you said about that you have problems with brassicas as well on, and I remember you doing a video where you said things I'm not going to grow anymore.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it broke my soul when I said, because brassicas to me, and because where I live, are like the heart of my garden. So I think I couldn't imagine not growing them. But then
I look at your months and months of rain and moderate temperatures, even though it gets a little bit cold, and I would love some of that because I'll go from
you can gladly have it.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'll have snow the second week of May, and then in June the temperature skyrockets above 35 and 40 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
Yeah, that's difficult, isn't it?
And that's the problem with the brassicas is the brassicas are just getting started, and they always bolt. They always bolt. And so I don't grow them anymore.
Well, Robin, she's in Chicagoland, and she had the same issues with Swedes. And the irony of it is, I said to her, you should try again, because I did like a Swede challenge last year, and she won. She won the biggest Swede, and she wasn't even going to grow it. And she said, no, they always bolt in my area because of the intense heat. And I got to be honest, she did mother those, I think. But she won the actual competition.
If you want to do something, though, you'll find ways, won't you? You'll find ways to make it happen.
Your reputation's on the line, Danny, with these Swedes this year, because you've told me a variety. So if I
love Helena Swedes. They're one of my favourites, Helena Swede. And I was quite honoured when I seen that you was growing something, because it's normally the other way around. I normally see your channel. I think, I'm going to try that, because if it, you always seem to have really good harvests of things. Your family must be well fed.
There's going to be an episode, Why My Swills Failed, thanks to Danny, and put a link to your channel.
That's all right.
As long as he gets a link, that'll be fine. That'll be fine.
As long as he gets his backlink, you don't care.
But it all goes to show, doesn't it? I mean, like you say, Tony, if you're determined to grow something, you will go hell for leather and make sure the conditions are exactly right. But if you're not, it's all about flexibility. We're not all going to be able to grow absolutely everything perfectly because of our microclimates, and what we have to go through.
We have an early, we have a late winter for like a lot of crops like ginger and stuff. My ginger's in pots on the floor in this room at the moment, and this room is hot because of all tropical. It's a perfect place for them, but I'm going to grow them in here until I'm ready, and then they'll go out the tunnel once it gets warmer. But not everybody has this. I'm just lucky that I've built this, right? But if someone wanted to, they could just go and get a propagator, put it in a propagator, and just bring them on, and then keep them in the house until they're ready. If you want to do it that much, you're going to do those things. It's not about, again, it goes back to, yes, you can go and buy ginger in the store. It's not about that. It's about having the satisfaction that you've grown it despite what's going on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing as well, that when people say, "Oh, I could get that, I could get those carrots," but it's not the point of it. It's the fact that there's been many years where I have not been able to grow decent carrots. Like I see Nigel's and I think, God, this man, he'd pull them carrots out and they're straight there. And every year he says, sweet candle, sweet candle. I'm like, yeah, Nigel, I am sweet candling them.
That's what my carrots were to put up earlier on, sweet candle.
The thing is, Danny, though, if you're probably spending 2 or 3 hours sowing them, where most people will put a drill, sprinkle it, and that's it.
I tried that as well. I'll be honest, I did have carrots last year in a bucket, but I think what happens is when I first went over to that plot, the second plot, and I checked the soil, I thought, this soil is so fine. I thought this is the most perfect plot. There was no bindweed, no mare's tail. And I thought, why is this soil so fine? And it's because of the moles, because that moles were left there for about because they were left on that plot for about good 2 or 3 years with nobody. It tilted everything. Everything was a molehill. And
what you ought to do, Danny, is bag that up, because the chrysanth growers love that molehills.
Really? Well, I could probably grow an old plot of chrysanthemum, because my plot is just a molehill. That's going to be a thumbnail before long. It's just going to be me coming out with a hole. Digging
like a saying about people saying about going to the supermarket and buying carrots. To go back to that just very, very briefly, you can't get the variety of the tomatoes, the potatoes, the cabbage that we can grow in our garden, and everyone says, oh, we only ever thought tomatoes were red. It's ridiculous,
You can't buy a £67 cabbage, can you?
Well, you can't. You absolutely can't. And it's a learning curve. Well, exactly.
Tony, Tony, when you took that home, right? Yeah. What did Tina say?
I did.
I mean, that's not a Sunday dinner, is it?
That took 4 of us to lift, believe it or not.
I was going to say, you wouldn't get through the door.
I took it to Malvin, and it didn't even place.
That was the wide angle lens. That was.
And then I brought it back, and I didn't actually bring it into the house. I took it straight to the homeless shelter in Cardiff.
Get it in the house,
and they used it and put it on.
They use it as roof tiles. That's what they use it for.
It lasted until March.
The thing is, like I said, it's about doing things you can't get in the stores because you want to, not because you have to. It's because you want to.
Yeah, and that's exactly like when people say, "Oh, you could do that." You're right. We could all just go out and grab something from the shop, anything, But I like the fact now that it does teach you to eat a little bit more seasonally, and also. Yeah. I don't want to go to the shop. And that's the true answer is I do not want to go to the shop all the time. My lifestyle now is when I go shopping first. And then on the way back, I call to the plot and I get all the rest of the things that I need. And I make a list of things. And that's just my it's like a supermarket to me. I go around and grab all what I need and take home. Yeah. And I think
trickier this time of year. Bit trickier this.
Not for all of us, Jane. Not for all of us.
But in the summer, I'm completely the opposite way around. I'll see what I've got available, and then
go to the shop and buy all the veg.
No, but it's true. You base your eating around what you can pick, and that's fantastic. You can't beat that.
No.
Imagine a shelf space that like my rhubarb sticks would have taken up, 4 feet or something. Like, do you know what I mean? It's you get these little things that are about this big. It's like, what's the point? Like,
But Tony, do they always didn't you lose this plant though? Wasn't this left on your other plot? This one?
So yeah, I left the plot when I was at the other place, and all I brought. I just couldn't get it out of the ground. It was just too big. And I sliced off a tiny little piece of it and I brought that with me. And then over the years, I've made that into 5 plants. So I now have 5 of these ones to keep that genetics going. And every year I'm pulling rhubarb like that from it.
I did actually
the plant itself is huge.
I did joke before the live and said Tony's only actually 3 inches tall and these are actually seedlings.
You know what? That's exactly
So
and they do look like that, though.
That's small there because that's I think that's like in the beginning of spring. That IBC that's behind, when they're fully grown, you lose it completely. You don't see it.
Tony, I noticed something on your new video. And I noticed that you said rhubarb this time round. And I was really...
Oh, Danny, you just spoiled it. That was going to be like for an upcoming competition.
Sorry. I thought he's changed. He's changed now. He's a changed man.
I had to film that about 5 times, that little section, just so I could say the word rhubarb instead of rhubarb. And you just spoiled it.
This could be the short now.
Yeah, well, there you are.
We've got a few questions coming in, and actually there is...
There's one for you there, Danny.
Is there one?
Why
haven't you... What does it say?
Metal beds. Metal beds.
Oh, this is... Now, I'll answer this question, but we all got our own preferences, I think. So the question is, what is the brand of metal raised beds that you use, please? I've got like 3 different versions or 4 different versions, and I'm not going to say, I will say Birdie's beds because I like the style of them, and that I do think they are really, really a lot of quality, and they have the trim around them and stuff like that. But I can't honestly tell you which one to get, fully, because I bought them all at the same time. So in time will tell. But Tony, you do know that the Birdie's beds, they are paramount, and they really they are.
They are the gold standard of beds. They've even evolved now, because one of the drawbacks of raised beds, especially if you fill them with like hugel culture, is they have a tendency to either bow out or bow in. Yeah. Especially bowing in, as that soil sinks, it pulls the support bars down, and then it causes them to bow in. And when I filled mine, I showed I just cut a couple of 2x2 sticks and drilled holes in it and put the support bars through those holes, so that the weight of the soil coming down couldn't bring them in, and that sorted it. But as it happens, Birdies have obviously picked up on that, and now they've changed the design of the bed, which prevents that happening. So you haven't even got to do that anymore. They're quite a dynamic company, and the quality of the materials they use is just absolutely brilliant. I haven't got other metal raised beds, so I can't really say which is best. But I built my own from galvanized steel with the timber. They've worked just as well. As long as you get that soil up, I think any bed is going to be good. It's just really what you want. Anything.
I think the market's changing from as well. Like I seen on James Prigioni's channel, and he's now starting to use raised beds a little bit in his garden. But I noticed that they had something that I hadn't seen on the leading companies yet as well, that they automatically, like, you can order the frames that fit to the pole, where the screw holes are, and they come with the actual nets and all. And I think they should have been around for a lot longer than they are now. Like, there's something that sadly we do need to net a lot of things. And I know, Nigel, you try and non-net as much as possible, don't you, Nigel?
Yeah, the only thing I really net is the brassicas and the onions, because the allium leaf miner. But that's it. Yeah, that's the metal upright poles are what they call lamp pins, what they use on the roadworks at the side. Hook on the long metal bar, the tube which rests in the cradle there, which travels the length of the bed. Them are 6 meters long, they are, and that's just electrical conduit. And the horizontals which support the net are the plastic gutterings. That's just upturned and drilled a hole, and it hooks in there. And the nets sit nice on the top, and you can slide them across. They don't snag or nothing.
So, Nigel, a question to you though: do you think you'll always stay like this? Like, will you? Yes. Have you ever thought about making your bed smaller?
No,
because they're quite big, and you stick quite traditionally to huge beds.
Want to maximise growing space. The smaller I make my beds, will be more footpaths and less.
You must shake your head at my channel sometimes, Nigel, when you see all those paths going around and the windy bed.
Yeah.
Google Maps must have a nightmare when it comes over.
I'm an Instagram gardener sometimes. I like a nice couple of paths. I don't see any issue in it having the pass, but
if you've got the space, it's not a problem, is it?
Got the space, yeah. That's the whole thing. Yeah, if
and it makes it easier. Because if you have a good wide path, you can get a wheelbarrow anywhere in the garden. It makes the job much easier, right? But I appreciate that if people don't have the space, you want to maximize the land you have, then you're going to reduce the size of your paths and how many paths you have to be able to grow the crops.
The big beds of mine, and like I'll say it for Scott, 18 foot long and 8 feet wide. And
that's a big bed.
Yeah, so I got 4 of those, which I do on crop rotation, and I never have no problem with it.
Nigel, I remember Terry King popping around, and I remember him saying about your plot, and he said it's a lot smaller than I thought it was. And I always remember seeing your face. You was mortified by this comment. And I always remember watching it thinking, I hope that never happens to me. And then Tony came around me and says to me about the fig and olive, oh, what, it only goes to you? I'm like, yeah, the wide lens. The grapevine garden's a lot bigger, but
I think mine is 25 yards long and 10 yards wide is the plot.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I've got a space, it's about 8 yards wide and 8 yards long, but I have it as raised beds. The raised beds actually create that space, and then I've got raised beds in the middle of that space. And so there's lots of paths like Tony's talking about, but because I can cover that whole space, kind of like you, Nigel, I've got hail storms during the winter that will flatten. And so I'm able to cover that whole space with my hail cloth. So it's similar to the way you're doing it. But I just can't bend down and do all the low work anymore. So I've raised everything just to make it easier.
I've got large sheets of polycarbonate as well, which a good friend of mine usually passes when you get surplus. And that comes in. I used to use glass originally, but I had a large...
Remember that time it blew out on your plot? Nigel, that glass,
shattered.
It was everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
that must have been a job and a half.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep.
Gardener Scott, do you grow any unusual veg that we can't grow in the UK? Steve Colware's asked that.
So I don't think I've ever seen a UK channel that talks about okra.
Yeah, well.
And so okra is a plant that we can grow. Sweet potatoes as well. Sweet potatoes typically need a long, hot summer. So that's something that I've grown. But because my season is so short, I saw someone earlier ask a question about how long my season is. And so when you look at the last frost to first frost, it's about 130 days. But in practice, my season is really 100 to 120 days long. And so I have to choose plants that I can put in, I can grow, and I can harvest in 100 days. If it's longer than 100 days, I can't do it. And so because I can do the hot temperature plants, I think I'm able to grow a lot more of the super hot chilies and plants like that might not do as well in the UK as well.
Scott, I actually have to commend you that you grow for 120 days, and yet your channel's got 376,000 subs, 500 videos.
It's because it's awesome information, Danny.
Yeah, but in 120 days. That's
but he's doing a live every week, don't forget.
That's right.
So it's not just the 120 days, is it?
James,
you can't just say Scott only does 120 days worth of work.
No. Yeah. I mean, how we fit so much content into that.
Well, I think my channel, I try to focus a lot on motivation and philosophy. And so my channels are more than just how to grow a courgette or how to grow, any particular plant. I'm all about building gardeners that are willing to stick with it and not give up because it costs too much or not give up because they don't get the harvest they want. And so I have a whole bunch of videos that really have nothing to do with actual plants. It's a lot more about the journey of gardening and how to approach the planning and the preparation. Because I do a lot of planning and preparation because I can't grow anything during 6 months of the year.
But that is something I do like about your channel, is that sometimes you're very realistic about growing, but you also show the lighter side of it as well by saying it might be tough, but it is really worth it. And I do like that about your channel, that you don't just sugarcoat it and say like it's going to be really easy. We're going to put the seed in. It's going to have the perfect harvest. It's like, if we do have this rubbish harvest, it don't matter. You've got next year. And there is that feel good factor about your channel that a lot of other channels don't really tap into as much. You seem to have a lot of how to grow the perfect, tomato or something. But you'll say you might get rubbish tomatoes, but it's okay. You still got a tomato.
Right. It's having realistic expectations. And again, it goes back to being bombarded with unrealistic expectations. That is leading up to a fall. Ultimately, if you're looking at unrealistic expectations all the time, you are going to be sadly disappointed at the end of it.
Exactly.
You've got to be realistic.
People are frightened of failing, and that's the problem, right? They're frightened of looking bad and everything else. But you'll learn so much more by failing than you ever will by succeeding at something. Yeah. And
look at
you know what? Failing in the garden, right? It'll be the best thing you can ever do, because you will find ways. It makes you creative. It brings ideas forward. It's such a great way. I know thousands of ways to fail at something, but I only need to find that one way that works.
Right.
And then you move on and you fail the next thing until you find that one way that works, and then you move the next. And that's what it's about. It's about experimenting. And I failed millions of times at things. And
I've told or have said many times, I've killed more plants than many gardeners will ever grow, because I've got a big garden.
I could name a few which will beat you.
Okay. And it's almost like it's a big garden with a lot of plants and a lot of failures along the way, Scott, to get that one plant.
Your sub count has just gone, woo!
No, I have videos about that subject, and and in fact, one of my videos is all about. I have a T-shirt that says "I kill plants so that others will thrive."
Yeah, that's good.
I love that.
That's good.
But I do think that having a YouTube channel, though, we do show the positives, and also you have to show the negatives as well. But I get comments sometimes about like, oh, your plot looks really nice, I'd like to have it like that or something. I'm like, you only see like 15 minutes or 20 minutes of my video. You don't see the amount of
3 weeks that went in before
Tony knows. I'll text him saying like, I've been at the plot for like 9, 10 hours, 12 hours today, just doing something just to get that video.
How come, Danny, you never film the other people or help you?
I wish I did. Honestly, I wish I did have people that would help me. I will
say, I do most of mine on my own, and
I've seen
I have to say tomorrow. Sleeper once. Yeah, there was Danny for that. But tomorrow's video, people will meet my brother for the first time ever, because there's
he's
certain things.
He's the better looking one as well.
That's what he tells everybody apparently. So anyway, but for some jobs, it's much easier having two people, isn't it? So but invariably, people don't see the work that goes on, in order to get that like that. I think as well.
I like working alone.
Yeah, I do.
But my last video showed, it's gone down really well, because I was thinking, I can't go and show the polytunnel. It's the right tip, like you were saying, Tony. Over the winter, it is a dumping ground. It's being used. It's not being ignored. It's being used to put stuff in. And I did on the video, I said, okay. And I admitted, I said, I've been fretting about coming in here and filming because of the state of it. And I showed the state of it and said, this is the reality. This is what it looks like. And it's got such a good reaction with people saying,
because it's so relatable, Jane.
See that exactly.
It's
and
relatable.
People want to see that, so they don't feel like they're failing if theirs doesn't look picture perfect.
I remember when I first went to Tony's and I went to film, and he said, "You film what you want, because there's no shame in having areas that." And to be fair, it wasn't even bad, but it
had its spots, didn't it? Like anything else.
I was nice to him then. I didn't really know him that well then. Now I'd be like, look at this. No, but I remember, but Beth in Kitchen Garden, she I should have put a picture up of that really, but Bethan popped over as a surprise because my channel hit 5,000 subscribers.
Congrats!
And, I mean, that's tiny. That's tiny compared to some of you lot, but for me, it's
it's a that's a massive result, though, Danny.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing it down, but what people don't seem to realize is 5,000 is massive. You imagine, right, going to, you know, a hall somewhere to watch someone sing. There's not 5,000 people in there, right? You're having 5,000 people plus, because you know yourself, there's always, your views are always way more than your subscribers anyway. You imagine all of them just turning up to one place. It's huge, and people just don't get it. You know, it's a massive achievement.
Next time you drive through a small village, you can drive through and think that this village is smaller than all of the subscribers that I have.
Yeah, I am proud of it, and you know, it's been.
Whereas
it's
Tony
gone quick.
and Scott, you could fill Glastonbury. They just
exactly.
The two of you on stage. Glastonbury would be complete.
The thing, like I was saying to Danny, and I think I shocked him because I was showing him how many subscribers I've lost over the years.
Yeah.
And I've actually lost 78,000 subscribers. You know, so it's crazy. You don't keep them all because, you know, people lose interest in things, and all of a sudden you're not relevant to them anymore or whatever, you know. It's just the way it is.
And that's the same with when you watch TV series as well, isn't it? You watch it for so long, you think, actually, I've grown out of this now, and that's okay as well. And I
have to laugh at people, and they say, "Oh, I've lost 2 subscribers this month." I'm thinking, bloody hell, have a look at my stats.
Yeah, but going back to what I was saying about the filming at the plot and stuff, Bethan came round and said, "Oh, can I film?" And I said, and she came in the Polyton, and I said, "You filming you?" Like, I had like bags and bags of new compost. I had loads of boxes everywhere. I said, this is what happens. Some days you'll come over here and it'll all look nice, and other days you'll come in there and it's a warehouse. The polytunnel this time of year, if you've got a really pristine polytunnel, then I applaud you. But right now, because of the storms we have and a lot of rain, everything's indoors trying to be protected and things.
Well, look at when we did your tunnel, Danny. You know, I mean, God, the garden
it snowed the day after.
It snowed the day after, but the garden was a tip, wasn't it? Because
he hated my plot when I first went on that plot.
I didn't hate it. I was just finding you up.
He did. He kept.
What I hated was the fact you sprayed it black.
And I stand by that now because it looks
after
lovely,
the plastic went on.
Not a burn mark on anything. It looks lovely. I'm sticking by it. But at the time, Tony, you seen what that plot was like. It was horrific. Like I took over.
But weeks later, it was all sorted.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, a week later, I started putting all the beds in and stuff, and it doesn't even look like that now. And that was in spring last year, and this year now is progressed and got better and better. And I think
gardens are forever evolving, aren't they? That's the thing.
And I think the same about problems in the garden as well. If you had the perfect garden that nothing went wrong, I don't think I'd still be doing it because I'd be bored. I'd be bored if I could do everything perfect. And I like those failures because they make me think next year I'm going to crack that. And if I don't, I keep trying and trying until I get it. And then there'll be something else then that'll crop up that I'll think, now I've got a problem with that now. And it keeps us going because I think gardeners got hope, but we're also fighters, aren't we? We're also always trying to fight for that success of getting that best crop.
I went into last year thinking I'd nailed the water system on my plot, 18,000 litres. And then we had 6 weeks of sun, and I was like, showing the door, and so now this year I've bought another 3,000 litres worth, so it's 21,000 litres of stored water. If I run out this year, I think I'm just going to have to give up on storing any more water.
I always wonder, though, Tony, if one of those pipes burst, the plots, because yours is on a hill, those plots are going to just be washed over. They're going to end up in someone's house. That's a lot of water.
It is, but I mean, it's spread around. And don't forget, I've got a really large garden, and it sounds a lot of water. But when you consider, like, my garden's 198 feet long and it's 75 feet wide. I mean, it's actually even wider now. It's because I've taken on that extra half. It's actually nearly 100 feet wide. So it's, so you think that's a huge space, and you're watering that every day or every other day or whatever. And you've got 2 tunnels that are 36 foot long that swallow water. then, you know, you're going to be going through it at quite a rate. And there's only a tiny little tap up there that everybody wants to use. You know, it's just not possible. So you've got to look at other ways, and rainwater's better anyway for the plants.
So could you imagine if one of those pipes burst? I could picture the thumbnail now. You part in the sea, simplified tsunami. I can see it now. It'd be
they
epic
are fail
disaster.
Safes. They're a fail safe. So even though they're all linked, they are linked in batches.
I've seen you doing that. You can
then
turn
everything else. So between the batches, they have to go up over the top. So if one batch failed, I don't lose everything. So, but I can still pump to every single tank on the actual system if I wanted to.
It is clever when I seen it, and I thought, because you do separate certain things well. So if you had something which was contaminated, it's not going to contaminate everything, is it? So you can then. It is a clever system, but you've now expanded on it as well, which is.
Yeah, again, no, but it's like I said, it's my hobby. I want it to make, and we want things to be easy as well. You know what it's like in the middle of summer, watering takes hours and hours and hours, right? So, you know, if anything I can do to make that save me having to do, you know, a 25-foot walk to the nearest water source, that's a lot of walking back and forth. If I can only walk 3 feet to one or 5 feet to one, then that's a whole different game changer. Do you know what I mean?
It goes back to that thing that Jane brought up. She brought it up a few times about boys and their toys. Scott, are you the same? Like, do you like a gadget? Like, are you looking for the easier?
Yeah.
Maybe Jane's theory is right then, because Jane seemed to think that male gardeners are terrible for looking for gadgets
but they have a purpose. Now, you might only use it once, and then you keep it in your shed for the next 40 years. But you got that gadget.
Exactly.
That's right.
You can use it. If that ever is needed again, I don't have to go to the store and buy it. I don't have to rent it. I have it.
You've got it there. Yeah. And I agree.
Men are problem solvers, though.
No,
Jane,
women are problem solvers.
You create an issue.
Jane's a whinger. That's what Jane is. Jane will whinge about a problem for a year.
We see an issue and we find
buy a gadget.
We solve the issue with a product.
Jane, you've moaned about the watering system in your plot for about 3 years on your channel. And it's still there.
If you bought a gadget, you wouldn't have that problem anymore.
How dare you?
How very dare you?
How dare you? No, it's getting better without any gadgets. We are actually trying to use the gadget known as gravity to feed our water system, as opposed to going out and getting whatever to do. Actually, a pump we could probably do with a pump. I concede we could do with a water pump.
I've sent
I can't call it that, Tony. I can't call it that.
Jane, just get yourself a gadget.
It would be easier. But yeah, I refuse to go to that. I think if I can solve something without having to spend money, come on. Isn't that better than just clicking the thing on?
It is.
But you saved money because you had the gadget that you could use to make whatever it was.
Jane, have you ever heard the saying? Have you ever heard the saying, money or time is money?
Yeah.
You know, it's, because some of us haven't got a lot of time.
And some of us haven't got a lot of money.
Well.
Hey, throwing that back at you.
But Jane, my argument is, with the watering system, I bought that pump and people said, why would you spend 70 odd pounds for a pump?
Is good.
But the argument is, I don't have to water the polytunnel before I go and do a 12.5-hour shift or come after the 12.5. There's nothing worse than working in a hospital for 12.5 hours and then coming to the plot then and watering tediously back and forth with watering cans. I like the fact that I can press a button, go to the hospital, come back, and just bosh pump that everywhere. It saved me, and plus you will get more money then because I can go to work for more shifts then because I'm not spending the time watering the plant.
Or you can make some more videos, Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now.
What is your most random gadget, Jane?
Mike.
I knew you were going to say that.
He's my most random gadget. Most random. Danny, you'll probably... There's Mike. There we go. He's the most random gadget I've got.
You've
He's
kept his
very
fingers up
handy.
there.
He's problem solving. Yeah, look at those carrots. They're not bad, are they?
He's only got 3 fingers.
What, Jane, I want to know, right? Why his head and his arms are tanned, right? And his legs look like that?
Because he's not one of these people who goes... I bet there's some viewers. I mean, some of you might be like this, who wears shorts all year round.
Danny, he obviously wears the trousers in the house.
That's right.
Dangerous ground.
Honestly, floods before, storm, and our neighbour goes out with shorts on. I do just want to stop and say, what is going on here? If anyone in the chat goes out in shorts in February in a tsunami, please let me know the reason why. It's just... I find it really bizarre. You're all looking at me as if to say, you're all sitting there in shorts, aren't you? You're all...
The chair of our allotments was out in December in shorts.
In shorts. Some
all
men just like shorts. I don't know. It's odd.
I can't wait to get in short season.
I don't think I've... Danny, you'll know if I've got a random gadget. I don't think I've actually got any gadgets, have I? As such.
Have you got... don't you... No, I don't. I can't think of one that you've got.
I think you do.
I can list
your. What about your carrying tray? Your trugs.
Well, they're trugs. They're just trugs.
It's still a gadget. It helps you carry something, doesn't it? It's a gadget.
Oh, that is so. That is. So
You've got your hands for carrying. You don't need a trug. You don't need a trug. You got your hands for that.
I tell you what, I have got for carrying, Tony, and Danny loves this. I've got my harvesting apron, which can be found over on YouTube.
Moderator, do not put that link up. I'm sick to death of it. It plagues my life. Every time I go on YouTube, right, it suggests me to watch this video of her making this apron, and I've watched it just to get rid of it.
You still haven't made it.
And the worst thing is, it's the worst video ever made. And it still keeps suggesting to me. So I'm thinking now, do I need to make one? And then YouTube will accept that it's gone. I'm not going to do it though. No. I'm going to try and get rid of some of
Danny, YouTube will replace Jane's video with yours.
With yours, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks,
I hope
Tony.
So. Nigel, when's the best time for you to start Swede?
Oh.
I think I'm going to put that back to you, Danny, because we're doing Helena this. Your recommended variety. So, what do you think?
I'm going to I started mine a little bit early last year because I was trying to do the big Swede competition. But I think in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably start sowing my Swedes. And then
second to third week in March, I'll do mine.
Yeah. I pretty much, even though you pretty much, in the right zone, really, that I do follow your channel even before I had a YouTube channel because I used to copy yours all the time. And then I'd look at mine at the end of it then, and I'd see... I'd look at my sweet candle, and then I look like a Chantilly, and then I look at yours. Then I think, yeah, we did the same thing there. I'm gonna start, and then I went, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. I can do this. When is the best?
Everybody can do it.
When should we be netting our onions? I'm guessing for allium leaf miner.
Yeah,
May,
April, May. I've vetted mine. Yeah, I have, but the most important time is when they are laying their eggs. So look at April to May, and then later again in the season, September, October. Yeah. And
I think it's important as well, though, that if you're netting, don't be planting those onions in the bed if you did have leaf miner in it, because otherwise you're netting it, and you're just trapping them all in there then. So you're better off. Do you have problems with that where you are, Scott, allium leaf miner?
Not at all. In fact,
lucky man.
Onions and garlic and all alliums. I'm not aware that I've got anything that's going to cause a problem.
It did. I heard it was Muddy Boots who started it. That's the rumor I'm starting.
So no white rot either, Scott? No white rot? No. Oh, that's really lucky because
you can deal with white rot with like a clover green manure though, because it's a biofumigant, Jane. So if you grow like a clover green manure for a couple of seasons, they'll sort out the white rot for you.
Yeah, so it cleans the soil basically, does it? Yeah.
My long cold winters and short hot summers kill a lot of things that
I bet
a lot of gardeners have.
What about aphids? What about aphids?
I do have aphids.
Right. Okay.
But we have a lot of predators. I garden to bring the predators in. So I've got the flowers and the herbs and the grasses.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in sacrificing. Again, I kill plants to save plants.
Sacrificial planting. Yeah.
I have one bush in particular that terrible soil, terrible sun. It's like a wild currant bush, and it always gets attacked by aphids first. And that brings in all the lacewings, it brings in all the ladybugs. And so aphids rarely find my main garden areas because by the time they spread, all the predators are already in place.
I like
do you suffer with like maize tail and bindweed where you are as well, Scott?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I'm glad about that. I'm glad.
Bindweed is a big problem. When I was at the school garden, bindweed got into a couple of those beds, and we had to actually stop growing and empty out those beds, raised beds, because the bindweed just took over so fast.
I just dug out a whole wheelbarrow full of the stuff in the last video.
Yours was like mutant bindweed, wasn't it, Tony?
Oh, it was huge. And I don't know what the thing was, the top growth just grew so fast with it, and I was there every day pulling it just to try and keep on it through the growth season, but it just got away from me. So like in the end, I just double dug right through it, got as much out as I can, and now that soil is all broken up and not so compacted anyway. If it starts coming again this year, I'm able to just get down here with a trowel and pull out any last bits.
Linda at the Feel Good Garden, who's moderating, she took over the adjacent plot to hers, and we knew there was a bindweed on there because I remember taking photographs of it before, and it was just a forest of it. And when on closer inspection, once they started digging, they had soil on top where the new people had put plastic down for compost on top, and then the bindweed lived underneath there, and then the next people then come on top and put another layer of plastic and so when they were digging down, they didn't only just have one, it was like a lasagna of bindweed. And fair play to them, they've spent all winter just doing one allotment plot.
What I would say though is don't just get rid of that. It's packed with nutrients, so chuck it in a bucket of water and let it rot down, and then use that water then to put in the compost or something.
She'd keep trying to offer it me as plant food and all, and I'm not tempting fate.
It is fantastic stuff. It is packed with nutrients because those roots are just pulling so much out, and and effectively they're like a tuber. They're so thick.
Look at her listening there now. Look at her. She's listening to this.
That whole wheelbarrow ended up in a 15-litre container, jammed in. I just filled it with water, and I've just shut the lid off. And I will just take that out of that, and I'll put it in my compost afterwards.
Every plant has got a value. Every plant has got a value, and whatever we see as weeds, it's there for a reason. It will. I
am terrible though. When someone offers me a plant, you should see me. Well, I honestly, I'm very much because the fig and olive got nothing. The grapevine garden's got a bit of bindweed, a little bit of maize tail. But when they come over to me, honestly, it's very clinical when I'm like, where's that been? Have you grown it in the soil? I just don't want it because I haven't got it on the fig and olive plot. I don't want to bring anything in, so I'm very, very particular about it. But Linda tried a couple of times to sneak a couple of things, or I think she just wants me to have to feel the burden as well. Gardener Scott, what is your favorite tomato?
Ooh.
So Black Krim is my favorite.
And
we like that.
This is the first year in maybe 15 years that I am not growing Black Krim. And that's only because this year I started something new. I put a call out to my viewers and I said, I want to grow everything new this year.
Wow. Okay.
And so this year I'm growing varieties that I've never grown before. And so I'm kind of just setting aside some of my favorites, hoping that I will find new favorites, because I just have always grown Black Krim as my favorite.
That's brave, Scott. That is brave to do, though, because it's
fun. It actually is fun.
Nigel, I reckon you ought to scrap the sweet candle this year.
Why?
Take down the brown signs. You don't need them anymore.
I tend to grow nearly all crimson crushed tomatoes as well, so it's a risk. And
but you're growing outside though, aren't you, Nigel?
Yeah,
and they're blight resistant, so that's why.
Well, like parsnips, I'll only grow one variety of parsnip. Well, there's probably Gladiator, yeah.
Nice. It's like we knew, Nige. You brought that up on purpose then.
Whoops. That's my lights going out, guys. It's going to go pitch black in here in a minute. Give me 1 second.
But yeah.
Blame it on the storm, Tony.
I think
I'm blaming it on my timers.
I like the varieties, and I like a bit like you, Scott. I've had Robin from Chicago and Ali. I always forget exactly where Ali is. I know it's Canada. Whereabouts in Canada is she? I don't know. Canada. Anyway, and they send varieties that are over in the States.
Yeah,
that we might not have heard of here. And and it means that each year I'm trying new. And I might not grow them for a second time, but it's exciting to just think, oh, come on, let's try it again. Last year I had from Audrey, I had orange accordion tomatoes. And my goodness, the beefsteak tomatoes, absolutely, the taste as well, incredible, so hopefully I'll find the seeds for them. But just having that different, trying something new, always try something new.
I like cherry tomatoes because of my short season. The cherry tomatoes do very, very well. And so, Sun Gold, but they've also got Sun Peach, and there's a whole bunch of hybrids that I like to grow.
Sun Gold is beautiful, isn't it?
I prefer honeycomb now. Sun Gold was last year.
I know. They keep saying about honeycomb. Well, if you've got some seeds, Danny.
Wayne's grown up on Sun Gold.
Yeah, they're incredible. But
I will apologize to anyone, right, if we don't answer all the questions. I've never had this many questions in one, and try and fit them all into a conversation. But we'll try and get through a couple now. We'll have a little bit of a speed round, try and get rid of some of them. So, best way to get rid of couch grass? Who wants to answer this?
Move your plot.
There, right. Move your plot. Tony, I'm building a new polytunnel. Where would you recommend getting the cover, and any suggestion on what gauge I should get?
To be honest with you, they're all pretty much. First tunnels are pretty good, and you're looking for something that's at least a treble layer plastic. So, and you want the anti-fogging with it. The thickness probably like 3 mil or something. I'm not 2 mil, whatever it is. I'm not sure. 2 mil,
it's
something like that.
A thermal cover, isn't it?
Yeah, and it has like a special spray on the one side of it, which stops it from fogging and dripping back in, and for the UV and everything else. So I mean, first tunnels are pretty good.
I think if you did contact First Tunnels, I'm sure they'd send you a cover to.
Duncan, you got your own channel. No, he's got his own channel. You just get in there and ask him for it. They'll be glad to give it to you.
Give Matt a message, and I'm sure he'll send you a cover over. So, next question. I'm going to try and get rid of some of the older ones because we got a couple here. The veg plot thickens has asked, which crop would you save the most money compared to buying in the shops? I've decided to grow some fancy tomatoes and patty pans, things you would be expensive in the artisan farm shops. Go on, Jane.
Asparagus.
Yeah.
Dahlias. They're the most cost-effective crop. Because I'm not going to pay that money that they would charge in a shop for such a variety of flowers.
I agree. The dahlia, I took a massive, bunch, and I couldn't afford to give them.
And as a gift. I wouldn't. But asparagus definitely get it.
It was after the season as well. I tell you, I had them on the plot first of all.
I'm actually put a second bed of asparagus in, and I didn't like asparagus from the shops, and I didn't eat it for years because I didn't like it. And then I grew my own,
delicious,
and it was it's a game changer compared to what you can buy in the shop, and I like it that much. A second bed is going in this year, and I'm waiting for the crowns to come.
How about herbs for actually saving money growing herbs of all types, because they're so easy to grow. You can grow them in pots. You can put them in the same bed. And if you do any type of flavoring of your food, you're going to save much money over the years.
So beneficial to your garden with regard to bringing pollinators in.
I'll give you a crop that probably most people won't pick, and that's lettuce, because like just a tiny bag of it now in the stores, like $1.30. It's going up. It's going crazy.
Yeah.
And we go through loads of it. It's with pretty much every meal, and you've got so many varieties that you can't get elsewhere. So like for me, it'd probably be lettuce.
Yeah. I'm sure.
And most people wouldn't pick that because it just sounds like a throwaway veg. But, when you put the cost into that, it's an expensive crop.
Yeah. And the freshness of it as well. Like I remember last year when I put all the seed trays out, and that was one of the main questions people asked. Like, why do you sow so many lettuce and all? But I give a lot away to family and friends as well. Like a lot of them are, a lot of what we grow, we do give away as well. Gardeners are very much, like to share as well, don't they? And plus, they're very proud of what they've made as well. So they want to share it out.
My daughter's guinea pigs are never eaten so well.
No. There's an asparagus question, actually. I think Beth in Kitchen Garden has something similar as well. So can I transplant 1-year-old asparagus crowns from seed to a bigger pot once they've started growing, as they've started sprouting early, and I have 8 in 1 flower bucket at present? Oh, wow.
Yeah, you want to get it done, though, before they get any real size. Yeah. If they just starting to go, then you'll be all right. But if they, you're getting up 6 inches or something, then I'd leave them.
Yeah. I just mulched mine now. Once they're established in the ground, I wouldn't move them as well. I'm hoping to do a new raised asparagus bed this year because 2 consecutive years the moles destroyed mine.
Not more
Don't
moles.
You start me off, Nigel.
And it's a 3-year wait on it as well, so you're planting for the future, aren't you?
Yeah.
But they're great because they're then giving you the next 20 odd years worth of produce.
And when you need it as well, when you need it in the garden, then in the
gap.
Yeah. It puts people off when they think it's going to take so long, but it's just so
worth it.
Really,
the first bed the mole destroyed was about 6 years old, and there was massive spears, and it just wrecked it in 1 year.
I get that asparagus. I can't remember what it is. Like a little. It's a red beetle. Asparagus beetle. I get asparagus beetle. That's it.
What's that beetle on an asparagus? It's a beetle.
It's asparagus beetle, and I cannot get rid of that. It's just a case of removing it as I see it.
I don't
squish them.
No,
I don't have that problem. Well, not that I know of yet.
I didn't the first couple of years. I didn't, and then they.
Jane, do you have lilies on the plot?
No. I've got daylilies at the top end. They're the same thing,
because,
aren't they?
Yeah, so those daylilies might be attracting asparagus beetles in.
Maybe.
Just to let you know.
Yeah.
So
could be. Yeah, that could. Yeah. I need to do something about it this year, though. But my asparagus comes up at the same time as my chives, really, really fresh. And there is something about, try this if you've never tried it, a fresh bit of asparagus and a chive, and just eat that at the same time. It's just delicious.
I will do that this year.
Give it a go.
I like an asparagus spear with poached egg.
Oh, now you're talking, Nigel.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
And even better if it's your own eggs.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. Let's. We've got some more here. That I think one of them was for. Do you save your tomato seeds?
Mostly.
So you don't, Nigel, do, because yours are F1, but some of them I do, and other ones I just think I can get those seeds for about £1. And as much as I could save it, I found that sometimes the saved seed don't know. Like I tried the freeze method this time, which a lot of people tried, and that's an update I wanted to talk about today actually as well. Is that some people was going to freeze tomatoes over winter and then see it, and I tried it and they not one germinated, not one at all. Okay. So and that was on a heat mat.
If you put the seed into some lemon juice, it'll remove all the coating off the seed. then just dry it out afterwards, right? And as long as you dry them properly, they'll germinate, no issues at all. And you could just put them straight into an envelope. But I've put seed into my dehydrator on the lowest setting just to dry them off, and it's literally just chucking very fine warm air over, and that's done fine. But I mean, once that coating is off, and the problem is most people don't get the coating off, and then those seeds either go bad or the actual seed itself dies within the shell. So but like lemon juice will strip that off.
I was quite lucky because I thought I'd lost. This sounds really sentimental about a tomato, but I thought I'd lost my generation of Brad's Atomics. And then luckily, Linda, I'd given her a pile of tomatoes because she had blight last year. And she went, "Oh, no, I saved some of the Brad's Atomics." So it sounds so silly, innit, that you get so protective over something such a seed. And I went, "Oh, I'm so pleased that you've saved some." And it's like it's like a family seed. It's not. It's just a Brad's Atomic. Great tomato.
I saved my Brad's Atomic and then I tried them again. Was it last year or the year before? And the taste just was not there. And they have got such a fantastic taste. So I don't know if there was something wrong with the way I saved them. I thought it might be overwatering, but
you probably left it in the polytunnel for about 8 months, dying a death, and then you're like, "What's gone on?
What's gone on now?" But I'm interested in the lemon juice, Tony, because I use the fermentation method, but that takes a few days. So it's the lemon juice. It's just immediate.
Easy.
It literally just strips the pulp straight off the seed.
So you just dip them in and rinse.
So you probably need to leave them in there about 15 minutes or something like that.
All right. Okay.
And
that's easy.
So you mix the lemon juice with water. Don't just put it in plain lemon juice. But leave them in there for about 15 minutes and dump them out. And when you put them in a sieve and just wash them through, you'll see that pulp just falling off them. Because the acidity of the lemon juice literally just strips the pulp away from the seed. And then when you dry them, there's just no pulp that dries on them. It's literally like the seeds you'd get in a packet. They're really good.
Good.
Do you have any favorite among the bush or micro bush tomatoes? Anyway, you grow bush tomatoes, though, don't you, Nigel? But in baskets, don't you?
Yeah,
yours are beautiful.
I do mainly tumbler now. I do. But, my favourite cherry of all time is Sweet Million. That just crops and crops and crops.
And I was going to say it does a fantastic truss of fruit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think like
20-30 fruits in one go.
Yeah. The micro bush tomatoes I've tried, and I gotta be honest, there is two that I will recommend. Is the house tomato. I think you can get it off. Is it Real Seeds? I think Real Seeds sell them, and the bush is literally like this small, and it's so compact. The only issue I had with it is that you sometimes would break a tomato because they're so condensed on the plant. And also Latah as well. I think it's Latah. They're both from Real Seeds, and that's a nice one as well. But it sprawls a little bit. It doesn't tend to go too far, but it does take a good 2 foot or area, but it's quite low growing. So they're my recommendation.
I've never heard of microbush. I'm assuming they're just like for patios and small spaces. I just
totally
it's in the name, Jane.
Exactly. But it's new to me.
Jane.
As soon as Nigel said about tumbler, I was thinking of Barry's crazy cherry. So I was thinking of micro tomatoes, the small tomatoes. But the micro.
I'll send you some seed, Jane.
No, it's all right, thank you. Don't bother. I'll be fine.
Right. Well, I think this might be which seeds should be sown now to enjoy summer crops. I'm guessing, Maggie, you live in the UK. Otherwise, Scott would be like, "Well, you got to wait a bit longer."
That's right. But it's the same idea. It's the peppers, it's the eggplant, it's the tomatoes, it's all those plants that take a long time to germinate and a long time to start growing, and it's going to be a couple months before you can put them outside.
Jane, Addie's asked, "Do you want some house tomato plants?" Yeah,
house tomato plants. Oh, yes,
that's the ones I talked about, Jane. They're just like very. They're great for like patios or in a little pot and stuff on on a balcony and things. They are great for that. I discovered them through Malcolm Kingswell, and he swears by them. They're very good small cherry tomatoes, and the taste is lovely. But the plant is so small. But I think if I did them again, I would put them in a raised bed because I grew them in the ground in the mini polytunnel, and it got so boring going down to that floor. And you're right on the floor picking these. They were all right for the badgers or whatever. The blooming feral rats and all come around.
Send me a message because I do pass by weekly.
I think Aidy's coming on the live. I think maybe next week or the week after.
Yeah.
So yeah. You are, Jane. You're going. You're going to have a full allotment this year, Jane Kelly.
All she's got to do is put it in.
I know. I don't remember to put it in. They're horrible to me, Scott. This happens every week. I'm just here as the fall guy.
And you don't deserve it.
I do not deserve it.
Oh, Scott, come on here a couple of times. You'll soon see why she deserves it.
Hey, Scott, wait till she's on your channel.
You wouldn't believe the abuse that we get off this woman, and
very
she's in
nice
the background.
on other people's channels. It's
just not mine.
Bad influence. No, I know Danny too well.
Sometimes I send her stuff and I'm waiting for the abuse back, and then sometimes she don't, and I think she's lying. Yeah. She's really saying something else. Yeah.
I don't know. Thank you, Jay. Jay sends me a hug. Thank you, Jay. I need one.
Oh,
these terrible
Jay's a star.
bullies.
Me and Tony know her too well. That's the problem. Honestly, when you've had to put up with Jane Kelly this long, honestly, it's a job in itself. Come to Malvern, you'll see.
Oh dear. Right.
I think we'll wrap it up now. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Scott, for coming on.
It was great to be here.
Tony, Jane, you're welcome on anytime. I think we've got a couple of more episodes left, and then I'll probably do like one a month or something in a similar sort of style. I don't know yet, and then it'll be back in autumn, I'm sure. But Nigel, thank you as always. A pleasure.
Welcome.
Thanks, Jane.
You're right.
Jane,
just before you go, just one more time, please.
Yes, Nigel.
Can you just show us the?
Go on, Jane. Show us your magazine one more time.
No, I'm not going to. I'm not. No, because mine's back to front. You've got the thing, Danny. Oh.
There you are.
I've got the wrong. I can't find the page. It doesn't matter.
Jane, I will say before we go, right, I'm going to say something really, really nice about you now, is that when you sent me all your pictures, right, I got to be honest, I'm going to show a few now. It did make me smile a lot because this is not...
Oh, look at that truck then. What a nice little tool she had there.
Look at this. Where is it?
And a wheelbarrow.
See, I did grow stuff. I grow stuff.
But you know what, Jane? I've noticed this, and I don't know if this is on purpose, but I generally do think you... I generally don't think you show your harvest enough. I don't think you do. And I've looked at it.
I sent you 16
because Mike's already harvested it before she sees it.
You sent me I didn't even. I honestly thought these were Alan's on your allotments pictures. That's what I thought they were.
You said send you a few pictures, and I sent you a few pictures, and you said stop it now. That's harassment. That was what you said.
But I did look at it. I thought, is these pictures from the last couple of years, or are they from, since you started your channel? Because one of them had an awesome cat in the background. That's what I noticed. But Jane, look at this picture. You don't show these, Jane.
I do.
You don't show these.
I do,
Lovely.
But they're on
That's
Instagram. They're my daily.
Jane,
look at my...
Is this the tree that almost kills you, Jane?
No, this is my central apple. The tree that nearly killed me is my cooking apple at the back.
Look at that.
I know.
Like she knows what she's doing there.
That was when you used to.
That's when you used to grow onions and garlic, Jane.
Yeah, before the allium leaf man. Pears, or are they apples? There was something. Thank you for that,
Jane.
Danny.
That's all right, Jane.
I almost feel like it was a compliment.
It was. Well done, Jane.
Thank you.
No, but I was really nice to see all the harvest that you do and all. And I did think back. I thought, I don't think you do show them as much as you should because you've got such a big growing area.
I my videos.
Oh, I switch off by then, Jane. You've talked about something for about 30 minutes, and I think just get to the harvest. This is an harvest video.
Yeah.
It's an harvest video, and it's right at the end. She shows you something sat on a bench. It's always a pleasure, Jane, to have you on.
Yes, thank you very much.
You know what? She never speaks to me about 2 days after the live.
So nice to be here.
Right, thank you so much, everyone, for coming to watch. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Danny.
I've brought in questions, and I hope we've answered everyone's. If we haven't, I'm really sorry.
So it's always next time, Danny.
There's always next time. We'll
That's
see you
right.
again next Thursday at 7 p.m.